Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Friday, September 23rd, around 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 2022. The models are in and they're tightening up. It looks like Invest L, which is now Tropical Depression 9, will become Hurricane and Tropical Storm Hermine. And it will hit Cuba, and then it will probably hit West Central Florida in the region of Tampa. So these models are getting tighter. There are no more models moving it over the Yucatan and hitting Louisiana. They're tightening up on this path. So if you're on the west coast of Florida, even the Panhandle still, I would be preparing for a storm arriving quite rapidly. Now, the models are showing that this can make landfall as early as in just a few days, and we'll get to those models in just a second. But the big story is still Fiona. Fiona is a Cat 4 storm, and it's headed up there towards Nova Scotia and then eventually Newfoundland. It looks like 100-mile-per-hour winds Saturday, 6 a.m. on Nova Scotia for landfall. And this is going to be the strongest storm ever recorded in Canada. Keep calm. It's boom time. Hurricane Fiona barrels towards Canada in a rare weather event after hitting Bermuda with heavy rains. And that's the story. Here is the movement. And this is going to make its way all the way up into the Arctic by Tuesday at 6 a.m. This is unprecedented. This is one of the few times you can actually say that. Here we see the current position of Fiona. And I accidentally clicked it. I'm sorry. Maximum sustained winds at 130. Gaston is now affecting the Azores as we put up that warning yesterday. Winds have increased there to 65 miles per hour, and now we have to look at Tropical Depression 10 coming in after 9. Tropical Depression 9 will eventually become Tropical Storm Hermine, then Hurricane Hermine as it makes its way up western Cuba and into Florida in the coming days. And I know a lot of you are interested in that, but we're going to stick with Fiona now and get you all the facts. We're over here at our Twitter page, which is Oppenheimer Ranch Project at Diamond the Dave. This is where you can find me at Twitter, at Diamond the Dave, at Diamond the Dave. Just put that in and you'll be right at Oppenheimer Ranch Project on Twitter, where we update you on the most current news. This morning I retweeted Hurricane Fiona is approaching the Canadian coast and could produce some of the highest waves ever recorded in the Atlantic. The latest European wave model has maximum wave heights at 90 feet. That's 27.4 meters. And this would obviously result in catastrophic coastal damage and erosion for Newfoundland, especially the back bays and all of Nova Scotia. So this could be a historic storm. In fact, it will be. As Fiona's central pressure is down to 932 hectopascals, the lowest pressure for a hurricane this far north in the open Atlantic, excluding the Gulf of Mexico, in the satellite era. That's ever. This is the strongest storm this far north in the Atlantic ever. So lots of good information on our tweeters, so go check it out. Links will be below. Now here's the key message for Hurricane Fiona. Fiona is expected to affect portions of the Atlantic Canada as a powerful hurricane force cyclone tonight and into Saturday, and significant impacts from high winds, storm surge, heavy rainfall are expected, as well as wave action. We could be seeing some of the largest waves ever recorded in the Atlantic Ocean. Tropical storm conditions will likely continue for a few more hours in Bermuda as they got saturated with rain, and large swells generated by Fiona are expected to cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions along much of the east coast of the United States. Also, Bahamas, Bermuda, and Atlantic Canada during the next couple of days. So stay out of the ocean or just wade in a little bit. Now, here are the current tracks. They're all lining up, and they're going to be hitting that eastern portion of Nova Scotia Saturday morning with maximum sustained winds at about 100 miles per hour. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the people there. If you can get inland to a shelter, do it. If you can get off of that island, I would do it, especially if you live on the coast. Get out of harm's way. Here we're going to click on maximum sustained winds. This is wind gusting to 110 at this juncture here. Let's move this through to Saturday where we can see landfall happening up near Sydney. It's going to take a little bit here. We can just pause it there. And now as it's offshore, Friday night tonight, we're going to have some sustained winds here over 100 miles per hour as it's making landfall. So very dangerous storm. Also, we want to talk about the wraparound. These winds are going to be pushing the tide in the back bays here up and onto land here. This is going to be very dangerous. This is where the major storm surge is going to be, northern Nova Scotia. So if you're on the beaches of northern Nova Scotia, I would evacuate now. This could be definitely deadly. We're talking 90-mile-an-hour sustained winds pushing water during these tides up on northern Nova Scotia, and that's going to be Saturday morning. So you don't have much time to get out of Dodge, so to speak, and we're warning you now. Now, here are the tracks for the upcoming hurricane that is about to slam Cuba and eventually Florida, according to the current models. And this is the Invest 98. And let's take a look at some of how that's going to roll out here on Windy. So here we can see that tropical depression there becoming a tropical storm by Saturday afternoon. And Sunday, it's just going to move its way through here through the Caribbean and then organize. It's going to organize Sunday, and you can see it's going to probably form an eye on Sunday, and then it will be a hurricane at this point by Sunday evening. Now we have the hurricane here strengthening in the Caribbean. Most of the models are showing it coming straight up here, Havana, then Tampa. So those are the two major cities that will be affected based on the current models. There we can see it rafing the west coast Tuesday morning of Cuba. And by as early as Wednesday morning, will be offshore of Tampa and will be quite a powerful storm, Cat 1, Cat 2 at this point, and will strengthen. Now the models are far out here. Here's midday Wednesday. The GFS is slowly taking this storm up and up. Slowly Thursday. This is the new GFS run. Strengthening ever more, and then slamming into the panhandle. That's the GFS model. Now we're going to come over to the European model where you can see a much stronger storm is predicted on the European model. Here's Monday for the European model. Here's Tuesday morning. We're going to be going just east of Havana by Tuesday morning, and then it's going to rapidly move up the coast here, hitting the tip of South Florida, affecting the entire Florida Keys. And then it's going to go offshore to the east, according to the European model, and it's going to rapidly intensify. The water out here is extremely warm, and it should explode to like a Cat 3, Cat 4 storm almost within a day. Here we can see winds at 111 miles per hour. This will be off the shore of South Carolina, North Carolina. This is really going to be affecting some rip currents, 130-mile-an-hour wind here on the model, 132 off the coast of North Carolina Thursday afternoon. Here's your Friday. It looks like landfall in the new model. Landfall on Virginia Beach as a Cat 3, Cat 4 storm. That will be bad news, and that's Friday morning. So the models are shifting rapidly. They're all coming into consensus that somewhere in Florida will probably get hit, and western Cuba right now. So be prepared. And the entire East Coast now should be on watch for what's coming. Now, Fiona is still producing life-threatening surf and rip currents to the East Coast. Large swells are expected along the East Coast of the U.S. over the next few days as Fiona becomes a large and powerful post-tropical cyclone over the Canadian Maritimes. Life-threatening surf and rip currents are likely along with gale warnings. Meanwhile, another tropical system, we just showed you the models, formed this morning in the Central Caribbean. And only slow intensification is forecast over the next few days, which is going to give us time to tighten up those models and bring the people that need the information most that information as fast as we can. Now, today's headlines: a fault zone along the LA and OC coast could unleash a 7.8 quake. We're going to get to that in a second. Yeah, LA Times was trying to block us there, so we got that done. Hello, it's Friday, September 23rd, and the top stories are: scientists say San Andreas scale quake is possible along coastal LA and the OC. A fault system running nearly 70 miles along the coast of Los Angeles and Orange counties has the potential to trigger a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. We just saw what that does in Mexico. And this is according to a new study that is the latest to highlight the seismic threats facing Southern California and ever growing. Now, an analysis by Harvard scientists determined the fault systems, which run beneath numerous neighborhoods as well as big ports of Long Beach and LA, has a much larger surface area that could rupture in the same seismic event, making it capable of a far more powerful quake than was previously known. Now, the study found the fault could produce a quake of magnitude comparable to the San Andreas, and now that's just one more cherry to add to the basket. Seismic update, no quakes of note, but we do have Jupiter conjunction coming up September 26th. So the next week, 3 days towards the conjunction and after, if we have some space weather, we could get some more major seismic activity in the form of big earthquakes. Worldwide volcano news update. All is quiet on the volcano front, normal activity worldwide except for Home Reef in Tonga. The activity lulled for about a week, but it ramped up and the island continues to grow and grow. The effusive eruption at the volcano continues. Steam-laden plumes are reaching 1 to 2 kilometers above the island, and the island is currently measuring 211 meters north-south and 218 meters east-west. So that is about 8.6 acres, the newest acreage on the Earth. And there is an advisory to stay 4 kilometers away from the volcano for good measure. Now we'll take a look at space weather that should be ramping up here. Today was the prediction from that paper that a massive Carrington event would occur, and it appears as if an event is happening right now as I make the video. And yeah, we do have an M flare. We just had a long duration C flare that was a filament that released, and now we're having this M flare. It peaked at M1.3, not significant unless it's directly Earth facing. Don't know where that's coming from, but occurring now. And the C flare just before it, right here, newly assigned AR3010 just turned into view and looks like to be the source of a moderate M flare currently in progress. So that's where the M flare is coming from. And earlier we had that C flare in the vicinity of 2103. That was the filament located in the vicinity of 2102, erupted beginning at 1300 UCC. Plasma was flung into space, looks like out to the right. So that's not coming for us. This baby ain't coming for us either, but it's one to watch in the coming days. So there is no threat to Earth currently. And even the coronal hole fizzled. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, that was all we got from the coronal hole. A little phi angle shift here so we could maybe see a seismic event here if this comes down to the 180. But other than that, the sun is looking good. Now here's an interesting geologic tidbit. The earthquake in Mexico created a desert tsunami 1,500 miles away in Death Valley National Park. Now this is science. The 7.6 magnitude earthquake in Mexico felt in Devil's Hole Cave System at Death Valley National Park. The video is amazing. And what it's going to show you is those standing waves from 1,500 miles away cause this cave system's water to slosh around. And it gets pretty violent towards the end. I'll move it up for some of the bigger sloshing events here. And so this went on for several minutes. And these are the P and the S waves arriving deep in the earth where we can see them expressed in the top of the water. This is actually a turn of the century experiment, and this phenomenon is called a seiche. So we're going to get to the science in just a second after we watch the last inundation here. Take a look at this. This is the biggest wave. This is from an earthquake 1,500 miles away. Now, there's an endangered fish that lives in this water hole, in this cave. But apparently they were not harmed during this mini geologic phenomenon tsunami, which is actually called a seiche, which is a standing wave. Let's just pause that. A seiche is a standing wave oscillating in a body of water. The animation here shows a standing wave, black, depicted as the sum of two propagating waves traveling in opposite directions, blue and red, just like the PNS waves from an earthquake. And it causes the water in a calm cave system to react in such a way. If you've ever observed water sloshing back and forth in a swimming pool, bathtub, or cup of water, you may have witnessed a small-scale seiche, pronounced seiche. So, we learn something new every day. And we just saw a seiche, if I can say-ish it, right the other day here in Death Valley. Pretty fantastic. Now let's talk about a little bit of the facts of planet Earth. How is the Greenland ice sheet really faring this year? And well, the ice season, the growth season is over, and we have the data. There it is. This is the 2021-2022 season, including the entire melt season. And guess what? It was the 10th largest gain on Iceland since records are being kept. A total of 471 gigatons gained in 1 year. Now, all the articles this year from the main lamestream propaganda machine were telling us that Greenland is going to cause sea level to rise and Greenland's ice sheets are melting. That's the exact opposite of the truth. This year, September 1st, 2021 to August 31st, 2022, which is a year on Greenland ice sheet, achieved a surface mass balance of 471 gigatons plus, ranking it as the 10th highest surface mass balance year dating back to 1981. 471 gigatons gained on the top of Iceland. Them's are the facts, and I'm sticking with them. Mystery as 14 vulnerable sperm whales wash ashore Australian island. Well, it's not a mystery. We're in a magnetic excursion. The magnetic fields have been rapidly shifting since the turn of the century. And animals like whales use the magnetic field to navigate. So this is a clear example of where the magnetic field is screwing with animals, specifically whales. Now, we brought this to your attention a few days ago. A very rare and unique white black bear. In fact, it's a blessing to see this. Well, that black bear with white fur was killed by wolves shortly after the sighting. Just amazing the amount of reporting we can get from the wilderness. Now, some eye candy as we finish up here. Primary plasma discharge structures. No, it's not Atlantis. The recat structure is very similar to Olympus Mons on Mars. And if Mars had rain and would weather this baby, it would look just like this. Potentially formed at the same time by the same bolt of lightning. Mind-blowing. Now, if you're low on cash and you want to bug out, you want to get out of a big city, consider Iceland, where you can live out your life with large volcanic eruptions raining down sulfuric rain and gases. It will be glorious because, well, your YouTube channel will blow up if there's still grid. But you can get paid 50 grand to move to Iceland and enjoy the Icelandic lifestyle. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Why not move to Iceland? Better than being homeless. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people and be a hero. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Be safe.